kingdom feared the darkness long before they feared their prince. Always alone.
It's here.
Intruder! She's dangerous! Your Highness, she should be dead!
Impossible.
You should kill me.
That's the one thing I cannot seem to do. The kingdom will fall at last.
The kingdom of Velmora feared the dark long before they feared their prince. But now, the two had become the same thing. Thunder rolled across the mountains as moonlight crawled over the black towers of Castle Noctaryn. At the highest tower window stood Prince Kael. Alone, always alone. Silver curse marks twisted across his hands like living shadows, glowing faintly beneath his skin. The servants whispered that the curse was spreading. The soldiers whispered that the prince had already killed dozens, and the kingdom whispered something even worse, that one day, Prince Kael would become the very monster foretold in the ancient prophecy. Kael slowly pulled on his black gloves. Even through layers of enchanted fabric, his hands burned. Not from pain, from loneliness. He stared down into the storm below. Far beyond the castle gates, lightning illuminated a cloaked figure running through the forest. A girl, and she was heading directly toward the palace. Rain poured over Lyra's hood as she climbed the steep cliffside beneath the castle. Her breathing trembled. Not from fear, from urgency. Around her neck hung a silver pendant, glowing softly beneath her cloak. The moment the castle appeared above her, the pendant began pulsing faster. Lyra looked up nervously. "It's here," she whispered. A distant howl echoed through the mountains. Not human. Something ancient. Something watching. She quickly climbed through a broken section of the outer wall and disappeared into the palace shadows. Inside, the castle felt frozen in time. Moonlight stretched across marble floors. Ancient knight statues stared from the darkness. And somewhere deep within the palace, magic pulsed like a heartbeat. Lyra followed it, but she wasn't alone. Intruder. Guards suddenly flooded the corridor. Lyra's eyes widened. She turned and sprinted deeper into the palace as armored footsteps thundered behind her. Prince Kael heard the commotion immediately. He frowned as distant shouting echoed through the northern halls. "No one enters this wing," he muttered. The prince stepped from his chamber, black cloak flowing behind him. The palace guards suddenly froze when they saw him approaching. Fear instantly replaced relief in their eyes. One guard lowered his gaze nervously. "Why, Your Highness?" "There's an intruder." Kael ignored him. Most people avoided standing too close to him. Even the guards feared accidental contact. Kael walked through the corridor in silence until he saw her. The girl, cornered at the end of the hallway. Rain-soaked silver hair. Sharp violet eyes. And strangely, she wasn't afraid. The guards raised their swords. "She's dangerous." Lyra backed away desperately. Then one guard lunged toward her. Instinctively, she turned and slammed directly into Prince Kael's chest. The entire hallway froze. Kael's eyes widened. His bare hand had touched her wrist, directly. The curse marks instantly ignited across his skin. The guards gasped in horror. Everyone waited for the girl to scream, for her skin to burn, for death. But nothing happened. Lyra stared down at his glowing hand wrapped around her wrist, still alive. Kael immediately stepped back. Shock flooded his face. Impossible. No one survived his touch. No one. The guards looked terrified. One slowly whispered, "She should be dead." Kael stared at Lyra with growing confusion. The curse inside him was reacting violently, not attacking her, responding to her, like it recognized her. Lyra quickly pulled her sleeve down, hiding strange, glowing symbols beneath her skin. Too late, Kael noticed them. His expression darkened. "What are you?" he asked quietly, before Lyra could answer. The palace candles suddenly exploded. Darkness swallowed the corridor. A deep, monstrous roar echoed beneath the castle itself. The entire palace shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. The guards panicked. What was that? But Kael already knew. Something beneath the castle had awakened. And somehow, this girl was connected to it. Kael imprisoned Lyra inside an ancient chamber near his private quarters. Not in the dungeon. Somewhere safer. Somewhere hidden. The room glowed with silver moonlight through massive gothic windows. Lyra cautiously observed him as he stood near the doorway. "You should kill me," she said quietly. Kael laughed bitterly. "That's the one thing I cannot seem to do." Silence filled the room. For the first time in years, Kael stood close to another person without fear, without gloves, without death. It terrified him more than the curse itself. Lyra slowly stepped closer. "You're not what they say you are." Kael's expression hardened instantly. "You know nothing about me, but I know what loneliness looks like." The words hit him harder than any blade. Kael turned away immediately, but before he could leave, Lyra suddenly grabbed his hand, directly. The curse marks across Kael's arm exploded with silver light. Memories flashed violently through both of them. A burning kingdom, a black throne, a woman crying beneath a blood moon, and a voice whispering, when the untouched girl finds the cursed prince, the kingdom will fall. Kael ripped his hand away in horror. Lyra collapsed to the floor, gasping. Both of them realized the same terrifying truth at once. Their magic was connected. Deep beneath Castle Noctaryn, something opened its eyes. Inside a hidden underground temple, ancient chains began breaking, one by one. Purple light flooded the darkness. A hooded figure slowly smiled. At last, the stranger whispered, "The prophecy has begun." Above the temple floor rested an enormous stone coffin covered in ancient runes. From inside, something clawed against the lid. Morning never truly reached Castle Noctaryn. Even beneath daylight, the palace remained wrapped in silver shadows and cold silence. Servants whispered nervously as they hurried through the corridors. The girl survived. She touched him. The curse is changing. Rumors spread faster than wildfire, and fear spread even faster. Inside the northern tower, Prince Kael stood before a cracked mirror. Silver curse marks stretched farther up his arms now. Darker, more alive. He clenched his fist tightly. The curse had reacted violently after touching Lyra. Not weaker, stronger. Behind him, the chamber doors slowly opened. General Veros entered first, commander of the royal guard. Tall, scarred, ruthless. And unlike the others, Veros did not fear the prince. He feared what the prince could become. "The council demands the girl's execution," Veros said coldly. Kael didn't turn around. "They can demand whatever they want. She trespassed inside the royal palace. She survived my touch." That single sentence silenced the room. Kael finally faced him. "And until I understand why, no one goes near her." Veros narrowed his eyes. The general bowed slightly, but there was no loyalty in the gesture. Only calculation. "As you wish, Your Highness." The moment he left, Kael sensed it. Someone was listening outside the chamber doors. Lyra sat near the massive gothic window of her temporary chamber. Rain tapped softly against the glass. Her fingers trembled around the glowing silver pendant hanging from her neck. The moment she touched the prince, memories had started returning. Fragments, voices, fire, blood, a woman screaming her name. Then, a knock interrupted her thoughts. Kael entered quietly,
Trusting me now?
without guards,
No.
without gloves. Lyra immediately noticed. "You're trusting me now?" she asked softly. Kael remained near the doorway. Knew, but his voice lacked conviction. The prince looked exhausted. Dark circles shadowed his silver eyes. For a moment, neither spoke. The tension between them felt strange now. Less hostile, more dangerous. Kael finally stepped closer. "When you touched me," he began carefully. "What did you see?" Lyra hesitated, because she hadn't told him the worst part. In the vision, she had seen him sitting upon a throne of ash, covered in blood, alone. "I don't remember everything," she lied quietly. Kael studied her expression. He knew she was hiding something. But before he could press further, a violent tremor shook the room. The castle walls groaned. Candles exploded across the chamber. Then came the sound again, that deep, monstrous roar beneath the castle. Closer this time, Lyra's pendant suddenly blazed with silver light. And far below them, something answered. That night, Kael led Lyra through forbidden sections of Castle Noctaryn. Ancient corridors twisted beneath the palace like veins beneath skin. Dust covered everything. No servants came here, no guards, only secrets. Kael carried a silver lantern as they descended deeper underground. "You've been here before?" Lyra whispered. "No." Kael stared at the ancient walls. "But my father forbade anyone from entering these catacombs." That alone made Kael suspicious. The late king had hidden many things before his mysterious death, and Kael was beginning to realize the curse might be one of them. The deeper they walked, the colder the air became. Strange symbols appeared across the walls. Lyra froze when she saw them. The exact same symbols hidden beneath her skin. Kael noticed immediately. "You recognize them?" Lyra slowly nodded. "I've seen them in dreams." Suddenly, the lantern flames went out. Darkness swallowed them instantly. Then came whispers. Hundreds of whispers. Ancient voices echoing through the tunnels. Lyra grabbed Kael's arm instinctively the moment she touched him. Silver light burst through the darkness. The symbols across the walls ignited, and the catacombs awakened. Massive stone doors slowly opened before them. Beyond waited an ancient underground sanctuary. Purple flames burned endlessly around the chamber. At its center stood a giant obsidian mirror. Cracked down the middle, Kael stepped closer carefully. Then he saw his reflection. Except, the reflection moved on its own. The mirrored version of Kael smiled cruelly. "You finally came," it whispered. Lyra stepped back in horror. "What is that?" Kael stared frozen at the mirror, because the reflection looked exactly like him, without the curse. The mirror version slowly raised its hand. "The curse was never meant to contain darkness," it said. "It was meant to imprison me." The chamber suddenly shook violently. Kael's breathing became uneven. No. But deep inside, he already knew it was true. The reflection's eyes glowed purple. "You were born carrying a sealed king." Lyra looked toward Kael in disbelief. "A sealed? What?" Before the reflection could answer, an arrow suddenly shattered the mirror. Boom. The chamber erupted in chaos. General Veros emerged from the shadows with armed soldiers. "I warned the council this would happen," Veros said darkly. Soldiers surrounded Kael instantly, but they weren't protecting him. They were aiming at him. Kael slowly realized the horrifying truth. The royal court had never feared losing him. They had feared the thing trapped inside him escaping. Veros stepped forward cautiously. His sword glowed with enchanted runes. "Your father should have destroyed you when he had the chance." Lyra stared at Kael. His face had gone pale. "You knew," she whispered. Kael looked shattered. "No," for the first time in years. The prince truly looked afraid. The ground beneath the sanctuary suddenly cracked open. Purple energy exploded upward, violently. The monstrous roar echoed directly beneath them now. Veros cursed under his breath. "It's waking too early." Kael turned sharply toward him. "What is waking?" Veros hesitated. "Too long." Then the entire chamber collapsed. Stone shattered around them. Lyra lost her footing and fell directly into the darkness below. "Lyra." Kael dove after her without hesitation. As they disappeared into the abyss, the glowing symbols across Lyra's skin spread fully for the first time, and deep beneath the castle, something ancient opened its eyes completely. Darkness swallowed them whole. Stone shattered endlessly around Prince Kael and Lyra as they plummeted through the collapsing abyss beneath Castle Noctaryn. Lyra screamed as violent purple light exploded around them. Then, silence. Kael crashed hard against ancient stone. Pain shot through his body instantly. For several seconds, he couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Dust filled the air. The darkness around him felt alive. Then he heard it. A soft cough nearby. "Lyra." No answer. Kael forced himself up despite the pain and searched the ruins desperately. Silver light flickered weakly from his curse marks. Then he saw her. Lyra lay unconscious beneath broken stone pillars. Blood trickled down her forehead. Kael's heartbeat stopped. "Lyra." He rushed toward her instinctively, then froze, inches away. His hands trembled. The curse. If she was injured, his touch could kill her now. For a moment, fear paralyzed him. Not fear for himself. Fear of hurting her. Slowly, carefully, Kael removed one glove. His cursed hand shook violently as he reached toward her face. The moment his fingers touched her skin, nothing happened. No burning, no screams, only warmth. Kael stared at her in stunned silence. Then Lyra slowly opened her eyes, and for the first time, she smiled at him. A small smile. Weak, but real. "You caught me," she whispered. Something inside Kael cracked open. Something dangerous. Something human. As Lyra recovered, Kael explored their surroundings. What he found terrified him. They had not fallen into ordinary catacombs. They had fallen into an entire hidden city, buried beneath Velmora. Ancient towers stretched through darkness. Massive statues stood broken beneath glowing crystals embedded in cavern walls. Purple mist drifted across abandoned streets. An entire civilization, forgotten beneath the kingdom. Lyra stared in awe. This place shouldn't exist. Kael slowly approached one of the ruined statues. The figure looked familiar. Too familiar. It was him, or someone who looked exactly like him. A crown rested upon the statue's head, and beneath it were ancient words carved into black stone. "The Shadow King shall return." Kael stepped back immediately. But deep inside, he felt the city responding to him. The glowing crystals flickered brighter as he moved, like the darkness itself recognized him. Then suddenly, a low growl echoed through the ruins. Both froze. Something was hunting them. Eyes appeared inside the darkness. Dozens of them, glowing violet. Monstrous creatures slowly emerged from the mist. Twisted humanoid bodies, covered in black crystal growths, their mouths stretched unnaturally wide. Lyra whispered in horror. "What are those things?" Kael drew his sword slowly, but the creatures weren't staring at Lyra. They were staring at him, waiting, watching. Then one creature suddenly dropped to its knees before Kael. The others followed instantly, an entire pack bowing before the cursed prince. Kael looked horrified. "No!" A distorted voice echoed from one of the creatures. "Air." Lyra stepped backward nervously. The creature slowly raised its head. "The king has awakened." Suddenly the monsters attacked. Not Kael. Lyra. Kael reacted instantly. He grabbed the nearest creature with his bare hand. The curse exploded violently. Dark silver magic tore through the monster's body like wildfire. The creature screamed as its entire form disintegrated. But Kael couldn't stop. More creatures rushed forward, and something inside him snapped. Purple-black energy erupted across his skin. His eyes glowed violently silver. The curse marks spread up his neck. Then Kael unleashed hell. Shadow magic exploded through the ruins. Creatures were ripped apart instantly. Stone shattered. Darkness screamed. Lyra watched in frozen horror, because Kael wasn't fighting like a man anymore. He was fighting like a monster finally unleashed. When the battle ended, silence returned. The creatures were gone. Kael stood alone, in the center of the destruction, breathing heavily. Blood dripped from his fingertips. The curse marks had spread farther than ever before. Then, he noticed Lyra staring at him, afraid. The expression shattered him instantly. Kael stepped backward. "You should stay away from me." Lyra said nothing. Kael's voice cracked slightly. "I almost lost control. You saved me. I enjoyed it." Silence. Heavy, dangerous silence. Kael looked disgusted with himself, but Lyra slowly walked toward him anyway. "You're fighting it. You don't know what's inside me." "No," Lyra whispered softly, "but I know what loneliness does to people." The words hit harder than the battle itself. Then suddenly, Lyra gasped in pain. Her pendant blazed with silver light. Memories flooded her mind violently. A child crying in flames. A queen kneeling before a shadow-covered throne. A baby wrapped in black silk. And a woman whispering, "Take him far away before the kingdom kills him." Lyra's eyes widened in horror. She finally remembered. She knew who Kael truly was. And worse, she knew who she was too. Above ground, Castle Noctaryn descended into chaos. The royal council gathered inside the throne chamber as violent storms raged outside. General Veros stood before them. "The prince has awakened the Undercity." Fear spread instantly across the nobles. One councilwoman whispered, "Then the prophecy is real." Veros nodded grimly. "If Kael reaches the Black Gate beneath Velmora, the Shadow King will rise again." The chamber erupted in panic. "What do we do?" Veros slowly unsheathed his enchanted blade. "We killed the prince. Far away beneath the kingdom." Kael and Lyra reached the edge of an enormous underground abyss. And there, waiting across a massive bridge of black stone, stood gigantic sealed gates covered in ancient chains. The Black Gate. Purple light pulsed from the cracks. Something colossal moved behind it. Then, a voice echoed from the darkness. A calm, terrifying voice. "Welcome home, my son." Kael froze. Lyra's blood ran cold, because the voice behind the gate sounded exactly like Kael. The Black Gate towered above them like the entrance to another world. Massive chains stretched across its surface, glowing with ancient silver runes. Behind the cracks in the gate, purple light pulsed like a living heartbeat, and the voice continued speaking. "Come closer, Kael." The prince stood frozen. Every instinct screamed at him to run. But another part of him, something buried deep beneath the curse, wanted to listen. Lyra grabbed his arm carefully. "Don't." Kael looked down at her trembling hand wrapped around his wrist. Even now, her touch still didn't hurt. The realization weakened his resolve. For one dangerous moment, Kael wanted to believe he could still be human. Then the voice laughed softly behind the gate. "She fears what you are becoming." The chains rattled violently. Purple mist leaked through the cracks. Lyra stepped backward immediately. "Kael, something's wrong." The prince's curse marks suddenly ignited across his skin. Pain ripped through his body. Visions exploded inside his mind. A battlefield drowning in black flames. Mountains of corpses. A king made entirely of shadow. And standing beside him, a little silver-haired girl crying beneath the moon. Kael staggered backward. Lyra caught him before he collapsed. The moment she touched him, the vision stopped. Silence. Kael stared at her in shock. She could calm the curse. Impossible. Then the voice behind the gate whispered something that chilled them both. "She is the last Moonveil." Lyra's face went pale instantly, because she recognized the name, even if she couldn't remember why. Deep beneath the Undercity ruins, Kael and Lyra took shelter inside an abandoned temple. Ancient silver candles lit themselves as they entered, like the temple had been waiting for them. Kael sat silently against a broken pillar, trying to steady his breathing. The curse had never reacted this violently before, and every time Lyra touched him, the darkness inside him retreated. It terrified him, because now he needed her. Lyra approached cautiously. "You saw something at the gate?" Kael didn't answer immediately. Then quietly, "I saw death." Lyra sat beside him, closer than before. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to feel dangerous. Kael stared at the silver flames dancing across the temple walls. The voice called, "You Moonveil." Lyra's expression tightened. "I know. You remember it?" "PS's." She looked down at her pendant. "When I was little, I remember a woman hiding me in the forest." Kael listened carefully. "She told me never to let anyone see this pendant." The silver pendant glowed softly. Then Lyra whispered the part that terrified her most. She said, "If the kingdom discovered who I was, they would kill me." Silence filled the temple. Then suddenly, Kael remembered something too. Not a vision, a memory. A little girl laughing in a palace garden beneath silver trees. A girl with silver hair. Lyra. Kael's eyes widened slowly. "I know you." Lyra looked up sharply. "What? You were here?" The prince stood abruptly. "In the palace." "That's impossible." "No." Kael whispered. "I remember you." Fragments returned violently. Two children running through moonlit halls. A secret friendship hidden from the royal court. Lyra giving him a silver flower, and soldiers suddenly tearing them apart. Kael grabbed his head in pain. Someone had erased those memories. From both of them. But why? Above the Undercity, General Veros led royal execution hunters into the abyss beneath Castle Noctaryn. Torchlight flickered across black armor enchanted with anti-shadow runes. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were prince killers. Veros walked at the front, silently. One younger hunter spoke nervously. "Do you truly believe the prince is beyond saving?" Veros never slowed. "I watched his mother beg the king to spare him." The hunters exchanged uneasy glances. Another asked carefully. "And the king refused." Veros's expression darkened. "The king feared what Kael would become." The hunter swallowed hard. "So why keep him alive?" Veros finally stopped walking. Because ahead of them, the darkness was moving. Dozens of glowing eyes appeared within the tunnels. The creatures of the Undercity were waiting. Then the monsters attacked. Screams echoed through the abyss instantly. Blood splattered across stone. The execution hunters fought desperately, but the darkness overwhelmed them. Veros unsheathed his glowing blade, and for the first time in years, the general looked afraid. Inside the abandoned temple, Lyra discovered a hidden chamber beneath the floor. Ancient murals covered the walls. Kael stepped closer slowly, and his entire world shattered. The murals showed the history of Velmora, but not the version taught in the kingdom. The Shadow King was not invading the kingdom. He was protecting it, battling something far worse beyond the Black Gate. Then Kael saw her, his mother, Queen Selene, standing beside the Shadow King willingly, not as a prisoner, as his daughter. Kael staggered backward. "No." Lyra stared at the mural in horror. The final image showed Queen Selene holding a newborn child wrapped in silver cloth. Kael. And beneath the mural were ancient words written in glowing silver. "The child of shadow and moon shall choose the fate of both worlds." Kael's breathing became uneven. "My mother knew." The curse marks spread violently across his face. "She lied to me." The temple suddenly trembled. The Black Gate was awakening again. And this time, something inside Kael answered it willingly. The ground erupted beneath the temple floor. Purple-black magic exploded through the chamber. Kael screamed in pain as shadow energy consumed his body. Lyra rushed toward him instantly. "Kael?" But the prince collapsed to his knees. His silver eyes turned completely black. Shadow wings burst violently from his back. The entire temple shook. Kael looked up slowly, and Lyra froze in horror. He barely looked human anymore. Dark markings covered half his face. His voice echoed unnaturally. "Run." But Lyra didn't move, because despite the monstrous transformation, Kael looked terrified. Not of her, of himself. Then the Black Gate roared open in the distance. A shockwave tore through the Undercity, and from somewhere deep below, something ancient began climbing upward. Kael suddenly grabbed Lyra and pulled her against him protectively. A massive claw burst through the temple ceiling. A creature larger than a castle screamed into the darkness. Glowing purple eyes locked directly onto Kael. Then the monster spoke. "My prince." The temple ceiling continued collapsing around them. Stone crashed through ancient pillars as purple fire spread across the ruins, and standing inside the destruction was the creature. Massive wings folded against its monstrous body. Black crystal armor covered its skin. Its glowing violet eyes never left Prince Kael. The creature slowly lowered its head. My prince, it repeated. Kael stood frozen, shadow wings still stretched behind him. His transformation had not disappeared. Lyra stared between them in disbelief. You? Know him? The creature answered before Kael could speak. I served the Shadow King, before the kingdom betrayed him. Its voice shook the temple walls. Kael's chest tightened. What are you? The creature bowed lower. My name is Velmora. Ancient memories flickered through Kael's mind again. Battlefields. Fire. The roar of dragons. Then Velmora lifted his gaze toward Lyra. And suddenly, the creature became still. Terribly still. The Moonveil heir lives. Lyra stepped backward instinctively. What did you call me? Velmora's glowing eyes narrowed. The child hidden from the slaughter. Kael immediately looked toward her. What slaughter? The creature's voice darkened. The night the royal crown murdered the Moonveil bloodline? Silence. Absolute silence. Then Lyra whispered one trembling word. No. Because deep inside, she already knew it was true. Velmora led them deeper into the Undercity, far beneath the ruins. They entered a hidden sanctuary, untouched by time. Silver trees glowed beneath crystal ceilings. Moonlight somehow shined underground, and at the center stood dozens of broken gravestones. Lyra's breathing stopped. The names carved into the stones. All carried the same surname, Moonveil. Pain exploded through her head instantly. Memories returned violently. Flames swallowing silver forests. Soldiers slaughtering her people. A little girl hiding beneath a staircase while screaming echoed outside. And standing among the Fire King Alaric, Kael's father. Lyra collapsed to her knees, gasping. Kael rushed toward her. Lyra. She grabbed his arm desperately. Tears filled her eyes. Your father killed him. Kael froze. No. He murdered my family. The pain in her voice shattered him. Kael shook his head slowly. There has to be another explanation. But Velmora spoke coldly from the shadows. There is not. The creature stepped forward heavily. The Moonveils protected the balance between shadow and light for centuries. Its eyes darkened, but the king feared their power. Lyra looked devastated. He hunted children. Kael said nothing. Because part of him remembered the flames too, and deep down, he feared the truth. Later that night, Kael stood alone beside an underground lake, glowing silver beneath the darkness. The curse marks across his body pulsed painfully. Each hour, the transformation worsened. He could feel the Shadow King awakening inside him. Hungry, ancient, watching. Then footsteps approached, softly behind him. Lyra. Kael didn't turn around. You should hate me. Lyra stopped beside him silently. The glowing lake reflected both of them side by side. Monster and survivor. Shadow and moonlight. Finally, Lyra whispered, I want to. Kael closed his eyes painfully. But you don't, he answered quietly. No. Silence settled between them. Dangerous silence. The kind that made hearts betray logic. Kael finally faced her. If my father truly did those things, his voice cracked slightly. Then, maybe the kingdom was right to fear my bloodline. Lyra stepped closer. And what about you? Kael looked confused. What? You keep blaming yourself for the sins of monsters. Her silver eyes locked onto his. But every time darkness tries to consume you, you fight it. Kael stared at her speechlessly. No one had ever defended him before. No one. Then Lyra slowly reached toward his face. Kael tensed immediately. But her fingers gently touched the curse marks spreading across his skin. And instead of pain, the darkness quieted. Kael's breathing became uneven. The closeness between them suddenly felt dangerous. Too intimate. Too real. Lyra realized it too late. Because neither of them moved away. Then Kael whispered softly. You should not look at me like that. Why? Because I don't know how much longer I can resist becoming what's inside me. And for one terrifying moment, Lyra wanted to kiss him anyway. Above them, General Veros and the surviving execution hunters reached the hidden sanctuary. Bodies of shadow creatures littered the ruins behind them. Veros stared at the silver trees coldly. So, this is where the Moonveils hid. One hunter looked nervous. If the legends are true, the girl may be more dangerous than the prince. Veros's expression darkened. She is. Then suddenly, silver arrows shot from the darkness. One hunter dropped instantly. Another screamed as moonlight magic tore through his armor. Figures cloaked in silver emerged from the ruins. Survivors. Moonveil survivors. Their leader removed her hood slowly. An older woman with silver eyes and battle scars across her face. She looked directly at Lyra, then slowly dropped to one knee. My lady. Lyra stared in shock. The woman's eyes filled with emotion. We have searched for you for 16 years. Kael immediately sensed something was wrong. The Moonveil warriors weren't looking at him with fear. They were looking at him with hatred. Chaos erupted instantly. Veros attacked the sanctuary with enchanted soldiers. Moonveil warriors fought back using silver magic that illuminated the underground forest. Explosions of shadow and moonlight shook the cavern. Kael fought beside Lyra, desperately. But the Shadow King's voice continued, whispering inside his mind. Let go. Stop resisting. Claim your throne. Kael dropped to one knee in agony. Darkness spread rapidly across his body. Lyra turned toward him in panic. Kael Veros saw his chance. The general raised an enchanted spear, glowing with anti-shadow runes, and hurled it directly toward Lyra. Everything slowed. Kael saw the spear racing toward her heart. He knew he couldn't reach her in time, unless he unleashed the darkness completely. The Shadow King whispered, "Say yes." Kael looked at Lyra one final time, terrified. Then he surrendered. Boom. An explosion of shadow magic tore through the sanctuary. Black wings erupted across the cavern. The spear disintegrated midair. Everyone froze. Kael slowly rose from the darkness. No longer fully human. Silver and black flames burned in his eyes. Ancient power shook the entire Undercity. Even Verith lowered his head fearfully. Then Kael looked toward Veros, and the general's face finally showed true terror, because the prince was gone. And something far older had taken his place. Cut to black. Silence filled the shattered sanctuary. Heavy, terrified silence. Purple-black flames crackled around Prince Kael as shadow magic spiraled through the cavern like a living storm. Moonveil warriors stood frozen. Execution hunters backed away in horror. Even the monstrous Verith lowered his head, because the presence standing before them no longer felt human. Kael slowly lifted his gaze. Silver and black fire burned in his eyes. The curse marks now covered half his face completely. Dark wings stretched behind him like living shadows. General Varos stared in disbelief. No. For the first time in years, the ruthless commander looked afraid to die. Kael's distorted voice echoed unnaturally. You came here to kill me. Veros tightened his grip on his enchanted blade. You are no longer the prince. The Shadow King's voice whispered inside Kael's mind. Kill him. End them all. Kael's hands slowly lifted. Darkness gathered around his fingertips. The entire sanctuary began shaking violently. Lyra immediately stepped in front of Veros. Kael, stop. The prince froze instantly. His glowing eyes locked onto her. For one terrifying moment, he didn't recognize her. Lyra's heart nearly stopped. Then Kael's expression twisted in pain, and the darkness hesitated. The sanctuary emptied soon after. Veros retreated with the surviving hunters. The Moonveil warriors disappeared deeper into the ruins, and Kael isolated himself at the edge of the underground cliffs, overlooking the endless abyss beneath the Black Gate. Lyra found him there, alone. The shadow wings remained, so did the terrifying aura surrounding him. Kael didn't look at her. You shouldn't come near me. Lyra ignored the warning. You saved me. I almost killed everyone else. His voice sounded broken now. Not monstrous. Just exhausted. Kael clenched his fists tightly. You saw what happened. The darkness took control. No, Kael whispered painfully. I let it. Silence settled between them. Far below the cliffs, ancient creatures moved through the abyss like shadows beneath water. Lyra slowly stepped closer. You're still fighting it. Kael finally turned toward her. Pain filled his eyes. You don't understand. The Shadow King's voice echoed again inside his mind. She fears you. She will betray you too. Kael staggered suddenly, gripping his head. Lyra rushed forward instinctively. The moment her hands touched his face, everything stopped. The shadow flames dimmed instantly. Kael's breathing steadied. The darkness retreated. Both froze, because they realized the same terrifying truth. Lyra wasn't simply resistant to the curse. She controlled it deep within the hidden Moonveil sanctuary. The surviving warriors gathered around ancient silver flames. Their leader finally revealed her name, Seraphine Moonveil, and she carried truths buried for centuries. The Shadow King was never evil, Seraphine explained. He protected the veil between worlds. Lyra frowned. What worlds? Seraphine looked toward the darkness below. There is another realm beyond the Black Gate. Her voice lowered carefully. A realm of living shadows. Kael listened silently. The Shadow King sealed himself away centuries ago to stop the darkness from consuming both realms. Kael's expression hardened. Then why did the kingdom betray him? Seraphine's eyes darkened. Because kings fear power they cannot control. Then she looked directly at Lyra. The Moonveils were guardians chosen to balance shadow magic. Lyra's chest tightened. And me. Seraphine hesitated. You are the final heir. The silver flames suddenly flared violently. Ancient symbols appeared across the chamber floor, and Seraphine whispered the final part of the prophecy. When shadow and moon become one, her eyes moved toward Kael. Either the darkness will be sealed forever, then toward Lyra, or the world will drown beneath it. Kael slowly realized what she truly meant. Lyra might one day have to kill him. Far above the Undercity, inside Castle Noctaryn, someone entered the Queen's abandoned chambers for the first time in years. A woman, dressed entirely in black, stepped through the dust-covered room silently. Silver chains wrapped around her arms. A porcelain mask hid half her face, and hanging around her neck was the same royal crest once worn by Queen Selene. The masked woman approached an ancient mirror hidden behind velvet curtains, then softly whispered, "The seal is breaking." The mirror rippled with dark magic. A figure appeared inside the reflection, not fully visible, only glowing purple eyes. The figure smiled slowly, and the prince. The masked woman lowered her head. "He has awakened." The figure's voice deepened. "Then prepare the eclipse ritual." The woman hesitated, and the girl. Silence. Then the figure answered coldly, "She must never reach the Black Gate alive." Later that night, Kael wandered alone through the Undercity ruins. The Shadow King's whispers were becoming louder, harder to resist. He could feel ancient power crawling beneath his skin. Hungry, violent, the deeper he walked, the more the Undercity reacted to him. Doors opened on their own. Creatures bowed as he passed. Even the darkness seemed alive. Then, Kael heard footsteps behind him. "Lyra. Again. You keep following me. You keep trying to disappear." Kael gave a bitter laugh. "You should let me." Lyra stepped closer carefully. New Kael looked away. "You saw what I became. I saw someone afraid." "That's the problem," Kael whispered. "I wasn't afraid enough." The tension between them became unbearable. Every glance lingered too long now. Every silence felt intimate. Dangerously intimate. Then Kael finally admitted the truth. "When you touch me." His voice softened. The darkness goes quiet. Lyra's heartbeat quickened. Kael stepped closer slowly. "So why do I only feel human when I'm near you?" The air between them felt electric. Neither moved, neither breathed. Then suddenly, Kael's eyes flashed black. The Shadow King erupted violently inside him. "Kill her." Kael grabbed Lyra by the throat instantly and slammed her against the stone wall. Shadow magic exploded around them. Lyra gasped in shock. Kael's face twisted in horror. He was fighting himself. "Run," he choked painfully, but Lyra saw the tears in his eyes. He wasn't attacking her. He was begging for help. Kael screamed as darkness consumed him completely. Then Lyra grabbed his face desperately and kissed him. Instant silence. The shadow magic vanished. Kael froze completely. The darkness stopped. For the first time since the curse awakened, the Shadow King went silent. Kael stared at Lyra in stunned disbelief. Their foreheads rested together, breathing uneven. He whispered shakily, "What did you do to me?" But far below the Black Gate, something ancient suddenly roared in fury, because the Shadow King had just realized something terrifying. Lyra was not weakening the darkness. She was replacing it.